Good morning, everybody. It's awesome to have you all with us. Thank you for being here. Appreciate your attendance. Welcome to Idea Week, the week of virtual public engagement for the Lexington County Grow With Us comprehensive plan process. I hope you share my enthusiasm today. Again, we're really excited to have you all with us. Today's the kickoff, one of the kickoff meetings of our public engagement. My name is Holland Leger. I'm the director of the Department of Planning and GIS for Lexington County. This department is tasked with the preparation and implementation of the comprehensive plan, a policy document intended to guide the growth and development of this county for generations to come. In order to do so, we have contracted with the Clarion and Associates team, in my opinion, the best private planning firm in the country. They're skilled in the preparation of long-range plans. Representing the firm today and here with us online is Ms. Leanne King. She's the project manager for the project. She's a respected, well-respected land use planner, a professional colleague of mine who I've worked with on any number of projects over the last 10 years. Leanne has with her a robust team of professional experts in all the various disciplines of planning, including transportation, land use, finance, economics, housing, zoning, land use law, and other fields such as geographic information systems, marketing, and public engagement, all with us to assist us through the process. We have a brief but hour-long program this morning of engagement to be followed by some online exercises by you all to help us implement this plan for the next 10 to 20 years. That said, I will turn the floor over to Ms. Leanne, who will guide you through this process today. So welcome to everybody, and the floor is yours, Leanne.
Thanks, Holland. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining the Planning Area 1 virtual meeting. This is the 5th of 7 meetings that we're hosting this week. We've got a great team of folks that Holland mentioned that are participating in this project, and these are several of the faces that you might see on this call, or if you join one of the other calls this week. We've got a whole bunch of folks that are helping. You're probably familiar that virtual calls require a team of folks to pull this off, and so they're going to be, you'll see us all with our Lake Murray backgrounds here and our Grow With Us logo. We're going to do a breakout session a little bit later, and one of us will be joining you in each of those rooms in case you have any questions or concerns. Today, we've got several things that we're going to be doing during our hour together. Here in just a moment, I'm going to give you a short presentation that provides an overview of what a comprehensive plan is and some of the quick facts and trends about Lexington County that are important to consider when thinking about the 20-year future of the county and the plan that we're generating. From there, we're going to go into some small group discussions and talk about each of our or each of your different ideas about the vision for Lexington County's future. Then we're going to come back together and have a polling activity. Should be pretty fun. You can have your smartphone ready for that. We're going to get some inputs from you all, and you'll see in real time the responses on critical issues and values. And then very important, the last piece of the meeting, we are going to get a walkthrough of the online questionnaires, which this is kind of a two-part engagement series that we're doing this week. These virtual meetings are the first step, and the second step, which is really critical, is going to the project website and completing the online questionnaire. It's different from the polling that we do in this meeting, and we really want to make sure that we're getting as much input as possible through that questionnaire because it's a little bit meatier than what we can get into in this meeting. Okay, so I'm going to dive into the presentation part. So the purpose of a comprehensive plan for any community we see is really fourfold. A comprehensive plan is a long-range planning document that guides a community on a whole host of different issues: transportation, land use and development, housing, parks and recreation, public facilities, economic development. It really kind of looks at all the important critical issues of a community and provides guidance about that local government's trajectory for the future. And it does it in 4 ways. It serves as a blueprint for the county's future that's laid out in the form of goals and action strategies. So everybody's on the same page with where we're heading. It's a compass that guides direction for local decision making. So city council and Planning Commission and other groups can use this to help guide their decision making. It's a playbook for capital projects to be incorporating future capital improvement planning efforts. So, any specific capital infrastructure needs that we identify during this process and that are supported in the plan, those can be teed up in later budgeting and capital improvement planning processes. And finally, it's a marketing tool that articulates the community's vision and how the private sector can support that vision. More and more, we see businesses and residents that are looking to relocate to an area, picking up comprehensive plans and community plans to try to understand where that community is heading and whether they want to be a part of that trajectory. For Lexington County, we understand that we really need to do 4 things in this planning process. First of which is to identify core community values as a foundation for the county's first modern comprehensive plan. And that's why you all joining this virtual meeting and completing that online questionnaire as a second step is really critical, because that's how we're creating our fundamental understanding of the core community values of Lexington County residents. The second is we know we need to plan for and respond to the pressure for growth that's being felt across the county in a whole host of different ways, and really was part of the reason that this process got kicked off. We need to pursue an inclusive process that's mindful of the concerns of residents like you, staff and elected officials and community partners. And finally, we need to satisfy state requirements. The state of South Carolina does require that all local governments have a comprehensive plan, and so we'll be meeting those objectives through this process. The Grow With Us comprehensive planning process is a 16-month process. We kicked it off this past summer. And as you can see here, we're down in round 1, October 2020. That's our first round of public engagement. And we're going to be kind of setting the tone in terms of the vision and goals for the plan during this phase of work, as well as wrapping up some of our technical community assessment work. We'll be coming back out to the public in the summer of 2021 in round 2, looking at different growth alternatives. So we're going to evaluate different ways the county could grow and change in the future, and look at how that impacts things like community character, transportation, the fiscal health of community, public services. And we'll bring all of that information back out to the public to take a look at that, and you all will get a chance to share which of the future choices you prefer. Then we'll come back out to you December of 2021, end of next year, for the plan unveil. So that'll be the opportunity to look at the full plan before it goes through the public adoption process. And then we should be wrapping up the plan. The target is for early 2022. Our approach to planning is really a cycle. Like any business or organization, it's a continuous cycle. It doesn't stop. We don't want to create a plan that just sits on a shelf and doesn't really do anything for us. That cycle starts first with setting policy priorities through the comprehensive plan. So that's really where we look at the whole host of issues that are important to the community and set that kind of 30,000-foot policy direction that looks long-term. From there, that sets the stage for work priorities that are developed as part of departmental work plans. It sets funding priorities for budgeting and capital improvement planning. And then ultimately projects and initiatives get implemented. And then from there, you want to assess that progress to make sure you're actually meeting the objectives that you set out in your comprehensive plan. And then probably in about 10 years or so, it'll be time for another update to your comprehensive plan. And so you'll take a fresh look. There'll probably be new conditions and opportunities in the county to be addressing in that comp plan effort. So again, we kind of think of it as a cycle over time. This plan is a comprehensive plan for Lexington County, and in that we are looking at the entire geography within the county's borders and what's happening outside its borders as well on the other side. That being said, this is a plan for Lexington County government. So at the end of the day, while the assessment and work that we're doing to gather input is going to look across the entirety of the county, the actions and strategies are going to be specific to the jurisdiction of Lexington County, which includes the unincorporated portions of the county, essentially the non-municipal parts of the county. It is a large county, and decades ago, the county actually decided to generate these 7 planning areas that you see on the map in front of you as a way to kind of break down and think about different parts of the county that have similar characteristics. And so today we are focusing on planning area 1, so parts of Columbia and Irmo, obviously within this planning area. And again, we're doing a meeting at each of these 7 planning areas this week. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the key facts that are important to consider when thinking about the future of Lexington County. So probably no news to you, Lexington County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state, and it added nearly 80,000 residents between 2000 and 2018. So a lot of new growth. And that growth is expected to continue. Projections by the Central Midlands Council of Governments predict that the county will have an additional 150,000 residents over the next 20 years. That's one of the biggest questions that we're trying to answer in this process is where will those 150,000 new residents live? What's that pattern of development going to look like? How are we going to serve them with public services, et cetera? What infrastructure is needed to support them? We know that Lexington County is slightly more diverse from a racial and ethnic standpoint than it was a decade ago, and it has a higher median income and educational attainment than South Carolina overall. The municipalities are growing. There are 15 municipalities in Lexington County. They're 3 times as large as they were when they were first incorporated. But that growth is not evenly distributed across all of them. Some are growing a lot more than others. About 3/4 of the land within Lexington County is either considered rural use or unimproved residential land. And what that tells us is that there's a lot of opportunity for potential change on those lands over time. So we want to consider carefully where we want to kind of guide and direct development to in the future. And then finally, from an economic development standpoint, we know, excuse me, in the Midlands region that healthcare is a big growing sector. And that's expected to play out within Lexington County as well. We know the 5 fastest growing careers within the Midlands are all in personal health care. When looking at transportation, we know that access to it is a major factor for employment centers. So accordingly, most of the jobs within the county are clustered around the municipalities, the river, the airport, and along interstates and major roads. We've also learned that about half of county maintained roads are unpaved, and those are concentrated in the southwest and southeast areas of the county. We know that more than 220 miles have been petitioned for paving, but the funding that the county has available to meet those needs is really not sufficient ongoing. So that's something that we want to be considering is, do we need to be prioritizing those paving efforts, or are there new funding sources that we need to be looking at to do that work? We know there are more workers commuting by car, and that the travel time when they're making those commutes is actually increasing as well. Likewise, there's a demand for walking, biking, and transit infrastructure that's really growing in the eastern parts of Lexington County near Columbia. And that's something that we're seeing, I think, really across the nation, as people are really, not even just during COVID, but even before COVID, I think people are really interested in getting out of their cars and traveling to different places and recreating in different ways. Okay, so this tells us a little bit about population trends in the county. This table here shows this population in 2000, 2010, and 2018 for Lexington County. The blue bar is for the incorporated or municipal population. The orange are folks that are in the unincorporated areas, and the gray is the total for both the orange and the blue. And when we looked at this, one thing that really popped out to us is that the majority of population, 3/4 of the folks that live in Lexington County, actually live in the unincorporated portions of Lexington County, not within the municipalities. So that was kind of interesting to see. This chart here below, this table here below shows the growth between 2000 and 2018 for each of the 15 municipalities, and it's organized by growth rates. So you see here Chapin at the top with the highest growth rate over that period, and kind of going down to actually some communities that are actually depopulating and losing population growth. And for this planning area, you can see Columbia has a pretty healthy, the portion of Columbia that's within Lexington County has a pretty healthy growth rate of 48%. And the portion of Irmo that's in Lexington County also has a, fairly less high growth rate, but a fairly healthy growth rate as well. This shows us the population history of the county and those future Central Midlands COG projections. And as you can see here, it's projected by 2040 that the county will have near 470,000 folks living in the county. And because we know the way the current growth patterns work and the current population distribution, we can expect that a large portion of that growth is going to continue to reside in the unincorporated portions of the county. When we look at population, how it's distributed across the land, probably no surprise to you, the higher density kind of people per acre areas are along the eastern portions and within the municipalities within the county. And as you move westward and southern into the north, it gets a little more dispersed and people are kind of a little more spread out over the land. When we look at the age of folks that live in Lexington County, they're what we call a family age. So we see a lot of folks that are in the kind of middle years of their life, 35 to 54, and the younger years, and less so in the 20 to 24 category and the 65 to 84 category. So a lot of families living in Lexington County. We thought this was really interesting when we look at where people are moving from that are relocating to Lexington County. Nearly 2/3 of those folks are actually coming from somewhere else in South Carolina, Richland County and Kershaw County being the two biggest counties that people are moving from to Lexington. And the next highest states are North Carolina, Georgia, New York, and Florida. This is a map that shows us job density. So if you take every job in Lexington County and put it as a little purple point on here, you'll see, and there are obviously a lot of clusters along those dense municipalities and kind of the eastern portion of the county as you're moving into the Columbia area, and less so as you move to the west. Also important to consider is kind of transportation commutes. So our worker inflow numbers, and what that means is the number of people that are traveling into Lexington County to work each on an average day, is a little more than 73,000 folks commuting over that border to get into their job. And worker outflow, those are folks that live in Lexington County and travel outside of their job, outside of the county. That's nearly 72,000 folks. So we got a lot of folks crossing the border one way or another, and then about 54,000 folks that actually live and work within the county. Existing land use is something that we look closely at we are looking closely at in this planning process. Effectively what this is based on Lexington County assessor data, and it identifies our best understanding of what different land uses exist on the ground today. So you can see the vast majority of land is in this kind of unimproved residential and rural use category that I was mentioning earlier. And those are the two, again, kind of the largest share of the pie in terms of land uses are these two. And so we really want to be considering about how those lands might change over time, if at all. And also considering where some of these other uses should be distributed in the future land use map that will be generated as part of this process. So this is a zoom in to Area 1. You can see the existing land uses on the map here, and there's more so than you see in maybe the south and west and maybe some to the north. There's a lot of different variety of land uses. So you'll see the yellow is kind of your single family residential, red are your commercial areas, blue are institutional, and purple are kind of industrial and utility uses. So, you know, more of a urban suburban environment, if you will, and so a lot more mixing of uses, particularly along corridors. When we look at housing stock across the county, one thing that we found is that the county has a higher proportion of single family detached and mobile home units, more so than South Carolina on average. And one thing that kind of made us think is this an opportunity to consider having different types of units? We know that market preferences are changing for residential product, and there might be an opportunity to have different housing options within Lexington County that the comprehensive plan could support. So I mentioned earlier municipal annexations, and that there have been the footprint of the municipalities is 3 times larger than it was when the charters were initially incorporated. You can see that here, the gray areas are those initial incorporations, and then the colored you can see are the annexations that happened over these decades. And that annexation was kind of early in the 40s and 50s. We saw a fair amount, and then kind of a peak here again in the 2000s in terms of annexations. And you can see here the annexation timeline for Irmo and Columbia. Zoning and development regulations are also something that we're looking closely at in this process. So zoning is, those are the regulations that determine what different types of uses can go in different places in the county and the standards that apply to that development. And Lexington County's zoning regulations have actually kind of two components that are applied to make those decisions. The first is the actual zoning district, the colors of the land that you see on the map, and then also street classifications. These are the colors of the roadways here. So whatever road is fronting a property also plays into what is allowed on that property. And this is the zoning and zoning regulations that are applied into Area 1. We can see here it's actually a pretty good mix of different categories. So we've got restrictive development zoning areas, we've got the development category, we have low density residential, and then we have a fair amount of neighborhood commercial along the corridors. So again, we'll be looking at those when we're looking at the growth alternatives to determine what different types of uses can actually occur in different places within the county. So that wraps up our fact discussion and that portion of the technical presentation, and we're going to move over to breakout rooms. I'm going to hand the baton over to our partner, Sarah Bongiorno with Planning Next, who's going to lead us in that discussion.
Great. Thanks, Leanne, and welcome everybody this morning to our virtual meeting. So we're going to switch gears here in just a minute, and we're going to put you into small breakout discussion groups so that you can share ideas and talk with your fellow neighbors. In just a moment, we'll put you into these small groups, and we'll ask you to respond to a question prompt and share your ideas and thoughts with your fellow residents. And a couple things before we get into the details in the question, just a few etiquette reminders. Different opinions are expected, they should be respected. There's a lot of different folks in the county, and the diversity of members in the small groups should enrich the conversation and ideas. And it's okay to challenge ideas, but personal attacks are not acceptable. And we want to make sure we're listening to others without interruption. That's an important opportunity, and try to help ensure that everybody has a chance to share their ideas to the question prompt once we move into the breakout session. Leanne, if you can advance to the question prompt. Okay, so we're going to put this in the chat box as well. So if you need to refer to it once you're in your breakout room. But the question is, imagine this planning area. So this morning we're really focusing on planning area 1 of Lexington County in 20 years. Picture the people, events, and places here. What do you hope for the future of this area? Or if you'd like to also think about the county as a whole, that's fine as well. And we're going to ask you to share your ideas in your small group. Now, Leanne introduced the planning team. We've all got the nice Lake Murray with the Grow With Us logo background on us. We will be popping into the breakout sessions just to check on you. We don't want to interrupt you, but we want to help get the conversation going and help you all have that nice discussion with each other. So in just a minute, we're going to put you into your rooms, and we'll bring you all back together in about 12 to 15 minutes or so. So hang tight, and you will get put into your breakout session here in a second. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I apologize. I've got someone weed whacking outside our office. So I don't know if you can hear how loud it is, but I will try to keep myself muted here. But we are going to switch gears. And if everyone could get out their smartphones, we're going to do, I think Leanne mentioned earlier, some polling, which should be pretty fun. So grab your smartphone, and I'm going to get ready here and switch us over into the polling exercise. Okay, hopefully everybody can see that screen. So once you get your smartphone out, please pull up a web browser or however you get onto the internet, and then navigate to www.menti.com. And once you get to that site, it'll prompt you to put in a code, and the code is there on the screen, 6828154. So I'm going to give everyone just a second here to find their way. And then when you get in, it should show you this first question, which is, what is your favorite outdoor activity to do in Lexington County? We've got a few warm-up questions here to get everyone familiar with the platform and to just kind of get warmed up to the activities here. And then we're going to move into some more specific questions. So I can see folks are participating. Thank you. Got a lot of voters in the group. And I'm going to...
If you pick the other category, if you wouldn't mind plugging into the chat what your favorite outdoor activity is, that would be good to see. I'm curious. Canoeing and kayaking. Oh, Holland, you've got a friend in there. Or, oh, that was you, Holland.
Can you give us a second to get in?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
What I pulled up has Chinese writing or some kind of Asian writing.
I think that's probably not the right site.
Yeah, try again.
www.menti.
Yeah, MENTI.com. M is in mom.
Sorry, MENTI.com. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And that number is across the top of the screen in front of you. So
yeah, the code.
The code.
Yeah, I'll give everyone a second. We got about I think we got about 18 folks participating, so I'm going to give a few seconds to see how many are participating here. We've got about 10 who have participated so far on this question. 11. All right.
Okay, and I have the site, and you gave us the code that needs to be entered, right?
Yep. Yeah.
82 81 54.
Yes, 6828154.
So, okay, I'm sorry. I'll be there.
Okay. No worries.
8 2 8 1. I'm there.
Okay, perfect. So you should see that first question, and then you can go ahead and participate. And then it won't advance until I advance. I'll advance to the next question here altogether. We got about 16 folks participating, so I think that we're 17. Good.
Let's see another other for playgrounds.
Playgrounds, that's great. Looks like the hiking and walking outdoors now ahead. Okay, so I'm gonna go on and advance to the next question, and it should advance on your phone for you. So this next question is, were you born in Lexington County? So we know that maybe the hospital was across the border or something, but was your family living in Lexington County when you were born? Just trying to get a sense of tenure and tenure in the community. Only a couple people so far born and raised.
It seems like more folks maybe born and raised were maybe on the western and maybe southern portions of the county, more so than the eastern and northern.
Mm-hmm.
At least from the folks participating on these calls.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I'm gonna move on now, which is questions along the same line. So how long have you lived in Lexington County? And there's also an option there that if you don't live in the county but are joining in because you're just interested or you work in the county, you can indicate that. So far, we've got a good spread of representation. Nobody's winning in that 50+ years yet. We did have, I think, somebody yesterday in that category.
Born and raised, I think, was in there.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Majority of you here in the 10 to 19. Okay, I'm going to move on. This one is, you can type it in. It's what zip code. We're trying to get a sense of the geography where folks live. So if you could type in your zip code, it'll pop up in kind of a word cloud thing here on the screen. Okay. 29072. Oh, pretty even distribution, looks like.
Oh,
Okay.
3-6 pulled ahead.
Okay. And what is your age? Again, just trying to get a sense of who's with us this morning, and how the participation here kind of compares to the overall demographics of the county. Oh, we've got a few young folks.
Yeah.
25 to 34-year-old age group, so sometimes underrepresented. So I appreciate y'all joining in. All right. Gonna move on here. So this question, why are you tuning into this meeting? And you can choose all that apply here, but we're really just trying to get a sense of folks' attitudes and their thinking, where their mindset is as we begin this planning process. And if you've got another reason, again, feel free to use the chat box if you want to tell us what that other reason is. Looks like we've got a majority of people who are curious and want to be helpful. That's great. And obviously some that have ideas, that's great. And we got a few skeptical people, that's fine. Always a healthy skepticism is never bad, but we hope that we can answer your questions and pull you along in this process. Okay, so I'm going to put back up the planning area map that Leanne showed earlier, just to remind you all that we're really, focusing on this planning area 1 this morning. So some of these following questions, want us to sort of think about the planning area. So we're focusing in on planning area 1, just as a reminder. So why do you care about this planning area? And you can choose all that apply here. There's also the other options. So again, use the chat function if you'd like to share what that other option is. A lot of folks live and work. Good.
Again, if you want to put in the chat, if you picked other, we'd love to hear what your other is. Work for the school district and encompasses this part of the county. That's great.
Okay. All right, I think we got most people participating. I'm going to move on. This one's trying to get a sense of sort of movement. So do you go to different parts of the county or planning areas on a daily or weekly basis? And just a clarifying for this, I know that we're in a little bit of a strange time right now. Maybe you're working from home and not moving around as much because of the pandemic, but thinking about a typical, but maybe pre-COVID and post-COVID, we're going to get there, how you move about the county. Okay, so a lot of people are moving about. Okay, great. And then how many miles do you travel to get to work? Again, thinking about your typical, if you're working from home right now, but your typical travel patterns if you do go into the office. And we do have an option there if you don't work or if you don't drive to work, if you take other means, you can indicate that as well. All right. Thank you. Okay, this one's a fun one. So what is your favorite place to take visitors to show off Lexington County? And this is a word cloud, so try to keep your answers to like a 1-word or 2-word answer so that it can show up well. But thinking about where you like to take people to kind of show off. The lake, yeah, that's one of the parks. That's good. State forest. I haven't seen that one before. That's good. It's like the lake is
Mhm.
On ahead. We've had some meetings where the lake is really prominent and others where the rivers. So that's interesting. Give a few more seconds, see if anybody else has any thoughts. All right. All right, I'm going to move on here. Question 11, what are the most important aspects of Lexington County that keep you living here? And in this one, we want to kind of focus or make you prioritize. We're only letting you choose two. I know it might be hard. There's a lot of important aspects, but we really want to understand priorities. So we're asking you to choose the top two. And if there's something not on this list, that's an option there. Feel free, like before, to use the chat box to write in what that aspect is. It's like the schools are coming out here along with the people and community, work and job opportunities. Great. Okay. All right, I'm going to move on to the last question. When you think about the future, select the top two topics you think need to be addressed for this planning area. And again, you can choose two, and there is another option, so feel free to write additional topics in the chat.
We've got some fun conversation happening in the chat right now.
Oh, good. Yeah, everything in the chat will get captured and put into our database.
So another one with central location and roads was listed. That might have been on the last question. Let's see. Yeah. Maybe roads was for this one. Yeah.
Okay, infrastructure looks like it's winning out on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic close behind. That's actually tied together, so that makes sense.
Redevelopment of existing underutilized commercial facilities.
Great. Okay, well, thank you for participating. This is our last question. We're gonna take all this data and we're gonna put it into a big database for reviewing and analyzing and consideration for the plan. So we appreciate you playing along with us this morning. I'm gonna exit out of this and switch gears here. Give me just a second. So this is the project website, growwithuslexco.com. And as Leanne mentioned earlier, participating in this virtual meeting, we're so glad you tuned in this morning and spent some time with us, but this is really just one part of the engagement for this first round. We really need you to head over to the website. And if you've got time, I encourage you to head over there as soon as we, kind of close out this call and participate. We've got a number of different activities on the website. I'm going to walk you through them quickly now so you have a sense. But if you go to the website, when you get to the landing page up here, share your ideas, the button, you can click on it. And when you get here, this is a series of 4 different questionnaires, 4 different activities that we would love for you to participate in. Again, this is really important. This goes in a little bit deeper, a little bit meatier, allows you to give us some more precise information. The Mentimeter is fun, and it gives us a sense of who's in the meeting and starts to give us some information, but this is really critical to the inputs for the plan. So the first section here, part A, is ideas about the county as a whole. So there's 3 questions here. One's about values. What do you value? What do you wish the county would focus on in the next 5 to 10 years? And then one about challenges. And so here you can type in whatever you want to provide. In this one, we've given you some options. There is another option here. You can type in something that's not on the list. And then after you do each part, you can do each of the questionnaires in any order. You can do all of them or just one. And after each one, you need to submit there to make sure your answers are counted. And then part B, this is ideas about the 7 planning areas. So you can select a planning area, and then you can give us some input here on these different topics that you think are important. And then this open-ended comment box is really important because this allows you to tell us anything else that's on your mind about this planning area. So it gives you a chance If you haven't been able to share something, or something hasn't, the topics up here don't satisfy what you have to say, this box is a chance to give us that input. And then you can select another planning area, and you can do that for all 7 planning areas. There's a map here for reference. It does get bigger, and you can use that if you need to reference where you are in the planning areas. Part C is a map-based activity, and this really gives you a chance to give us some input on specific locations. So you can read these instructions to remind yourself when you go there. I'm going to click off that. I'm going to zoom in here. And, let's say I want to drop a pin right here, a little dot. This brings up a comment box. You can tell me if this area, if your comment's a comment of issue or opportunity. You can give a new name. Maybe it's an intersection or a particular corridor or area, and you can tell us why. Maybe this intersection is dangerous for a particular reason, or maybe you'd like to see more trails or different things happening in this area. So you can give us the why. This is really important that you tell us why you marked this place. What is it about this that you want, that you think needs attention? And then you can hit the submit this place, and then this will reset, and you can move around and drop as many pins as you want and give us as many comments as you want. And you can zoom in out and go to all different planning areas and different parts of the county. And then this last one is a questionnaire about some just general demographic questions about you. And these are all anonymous, but this is important because we really do want to look at the participation and how it compares to the overall demographics of Lexington County. So there's some, just basic demographic questions here. We appreciate you answering. And then this item, question 7 here, additional comments. This is just an open-ended comment box. If there's something you haven't been able to share in any other way, and you've got some other thoughts, some other general ideas, please, put them here. This is a chance to just share whatever's on your mind, and then you can hit submit. So this is really important. This is really the meat of the engagement for this first round beyond the virtual meetings. And so we really want you to participate in this, share this link with your friends and family, send it out. We really want to get lots and lots of people giving us their input through this online input page. So I am going to bring up our closing slide here and hand it back over to Leanne, who's going to close us out.
Yeah, and I was just posting a reply. Michelle had a great question. Can we share this website, or is it just for the group signed up to participate? And it is for anyone that cares about the future of Lexington County. So it is not just for the folks that are on these virtual calls. Some folks are not going to be able to make these meetings, and that's totally fine. What's most important is that we get as many people as possible that care about the future of the community to come and sign up and share their ideas through the online questionnaire that Sarah just shared with us. So please, if you wouldn't mind, you see the website up there now. Share that with your friends, colleagues, neighbors, and don't forget to go there yourself, because the questions are different than what we did today. The website allows you to dig down a little bit deeper and give us a little more information, which is really going to be helpful in us understanding, again, the values of the community and some of the things that you would like to see happen as a result of this planning effort. I was going to make one little request before we kind of wrap up the meeting, and that is, if you wouldn't mind going into the chat and typing in how you heard about this meeting, what kind of first brought you to be aware that this Idea Week was happening. That would be great if you want to just plug that into the chat. We're really curious how people are learning about this, because we want to make sure and utilize that information and kind of spread the word in the ways that are reaching the most folks. So really, this kind of concludes the main portion of the meeting. Again, if you don't do anything else this week, please go to the website and complete the online questionnaires and try to invite as many folks that you know to do the same as well. The more inputs we get, the better this plan is going to be.
Quickly, and sorry, I was just going to interrupt you. Just to let people know that these activities are live now on the project website, and they will be up for the next 2 weeks. So, we encourage you to, do it soon so that you don't forget. I know everyone gets busy with stuff, but it will be up. So feel free, like I said, share the link around. There's a couple weeks here for people to make their way to the website and participate. So it will be up through the end of the month.
Great. We are going to stay on for probably about another 11 minutes or so till about 11:15. So if you wanted to go to the website and complete the online questionnaire, we'll be here and you can log back in if you have a question, or feel free to just hang out here for the next few minutes. Happy to answer any questions that you have, or take any additional comments that you want to provide. You know, we're here for you. So however you want to use this time is great for us. But this is kind of the formal conclusion of the main part of the meeting. So if you need to head on to your next engagement, feel free to do that. Again, if you don't do anything else this week, please go to the website and complete that online questionnaire, and ask as many friends, neighbors, colleagues, family members to do the same. So thanks so much for joining, and really appreciate all your great comments and thoughtful ideas.